Duchess dog biscuits is not something I saw on the agenda when Meghan Markle decided to flee her horrible life in the UK as a princess.
Well, it's not, as they say in one of the greatest films of all time, Stay Classy, San Diego.
Hi all, welcome to Heirs and Spares, the show where we give you insight and opinion into, two of the most popular members of the royal family, I think. I'm Kinsey Schofield, and I am so excited to be sitting next to the very handsome Rupert Bell.
Well, it's a privilege to be doing it in person, as they say. Normally we're across the Atlantic Ocean, but lovely to see you in the flesh. I know you've got a busy week, because I know you're excited about Royal Ascot.
Oh my goodness.
But in terms of what... in the Royals, they've had quite a busy week, particularly the Waleses. Centre stage, I think, is the thing. But lovely to see you in person. I hope you're enjoying your trip.
Absolutely. All right. So it is Friday. We're all kind of mentally preparing for Trooping the Colour. A lot of the headlines leading up to Trooping the Colour were about potentially how weak the family could look on the balcony, because we've got, our superstar, the Princess of Wales, out. The King, we know, has cancer. Harry and Meghan are gone. Boy, did the tide turn on Friday afternoon when we found out that the Princess of Wales would be attending. What was your first reaction?
Fair play, I thought. Her sense of duty, I think, was the important thing. Remember, she's Colonel of the Irish Guards, and they were the regiment of the Household Division that were trooping the colour. And so that would have meant a lot. And we know that she couldn't take part in the Colonel's Parade, which is the rehearsal the week before. And she wrote that letter saying she's very sad that she couldn't be there. But obviously, just like the King, doctor's advice was probably saying, right, if you feel not just physically up to it, but mentally up to it. Because actually, if you think, the focus of the parade inevitably was just on her and her three children. And they say that one of the reasons she also wanted to make sure she could do it, because she could accompany her three children to the King's birthday parade. But I think, in a way, it's a relief to see her back out.
Yes.
Now, there's no two ways about it. She's got all the help in the world to make sure she looked absolutely stunning. And first impressions were she looked... You wouldn't have known any different. If you'd seen a picture of her on Saturday, a year ago, you'd have thought, what's happened in the intervening period?
Yes.
I think that's what you have to say. So presumably that means the recovery is going reasonably well. But the intensity of that, it was a distraction from the King.
Yes.
But probably a good thing. But the King's done his bit.
Yeah.
Hasn't he? He's been out and about, so we're used to seeing him.
Right.
But I think that was it was great to see. And I know the service personnel would have... It added to the whole day. And look, you were on the front line getting wet. Right? I mean, you were, and I had a couple of friends who were in the Major General's stand, and they were sitting underneath where the Princess of Wales and her children were, the Major General's office, which overlooks Horse Guards Parade. And I spoke to some friends on Saturday night, and they just said it was... Luckily, we felt we couldn't put up our brollies in the Major General's stand. So as they say, we did a Richie Sunak. We took one for the team.
Oh.
And they came away drowned rats. Because didn't the rain came just afterwards, wasn't that right?
Yes. As they were heading back to Buckingham Palace, lightning, thunder, and it was intense.
When you saw, I'm going to throw a question to you. When you saw the coach come past, what was the frisson of excitement like round you?
Well, it was interesting because first of all, very personal things people were yelling at the King. We love you, get well soon. I saw people cheersing. There was alcohol. People had champagne. But it was interesting because seconds later, when they realized that Catherine was close behind him, you did hear the cheers get louder.
And then obviously with the three children.
Oh my goodness!
And did you have a good pitch?
I did. Oh, absolutely. And I wanted to say to you, just talking about how beautiful Catherine looked and how you felt like that was, good to see her looking so gorgeous and healthy looking. But I felt like the children, the way that Prince Louis was so carefree and silly, shaking around and dancing, I feel like that's a really good indication of the way that things are at home. Do you feel the same way?
Well, it's actually, if you look at the three of them, you've got George knowing, well, this is going to be my gig.
Yeah.
Right? So he's having, right, so he's all sort of, like, you know, I've got to be careful because people are going to be watching because down the line, it's going to be my gig.
Right.
Okay, that's probably a rather, unfortunate way of describing it. You've got Charlotte, who is clearly knows her own mind.
Oh, yes.
And is basically looking out for both of them. She's got the sort of futures feeling of a princess royal about her.
Yes.
Okay, and then you have the naughty third child.
I love him.
He's probably pretty unruly at home. They probably struggle to get him to go to bed because he seems to be a buzzball of energy. But heck, isn't that, they're trying to be a normal family. If you look at King's birthday parade or any parades before, it's all a bit starchy.
Yes.
But there are moments when William did it on the balcony back in the 80s that he just sort of let
the wombat.
But he was only about 3 or 4. But he wouldn't have been quite the carefree. But actually, it's quite refreshing.
Yes.
And people look at it and go, And actually they look like, the family trying to bring up their children as normally as possible. And that's been the comfort for her. And trying to lead, as I, sort of hearing, she has tried to lead as, do things with the family and the children. So being involved in the school side of things. They've obviously had to, it's very hard to control, but they've managed to keep things under control in that regard, that she's been able to have a sort of bit of a private family life. And then you see that photograph, because that's why they were up in Norfolk.
Right.
And I mean, that photograph is Princess of Wales takes it. I don't know when, it must have been the one summer's day.
Right.
That we've had this year.
And you're referring to the Instagram post with Prince William with the children around him. Oh my gosh, that to me, I think my heart swelled like 3 sizes when I saw it. It was so beautiful and touching.
Oh, that beach is normally quite busy, so obviously, I don't know whether they get it closed off, but it's a lovely part of the world up there.
Right.
And it's obviously Amner Hall, Sandringham, and it's, sort of can find a quiet time to go and do that. But I do know that's what they do. They like to just behave like a normal family. In Norfolk, obviously, they can't be a normal family. They're in this, Amner Hall is a big house, but they do try and use it as their, where they can get away and people around there are not going to intrude on them. They know the rules. And so that, I think, is why. And that was a lovely photograph to see on Father's Day and to see that they are trying to be as normal as family as possible. And that was reflected in the coach trip, and which looked, the Princess of Wales is sitting there with her 3 children.
Some of those pictures where Louis got his head back, cackling.
Yeah.
I feel between the Father's Day photos, both of them, Prince William, and posting the photo that I've never seen before from 1984 of him and his father, wishing his father Happy Father's Day. That beautiful picture that you were just referencing of Prince William and the children. And looking at the balcony and some of those sweet moments, the Prince of Wales looking at the Princess of Wales, the King looking over lovingly at Catherine. Despite Harry and Meghan being missing, which I know a lot of people focused on, I felt like we saw real unity. And I almost feel that the absence of Harry strengthens this family because there is a sense of peace, comfort. They are supporting one another in every way, shape, or form. And they're dealing with something so scary.
Well, they are. And actually, the thing was made that actually, if you look at the balcony setup, that 12 months ago, it was William who stood next to the King. But this year, and things aren't done, where are we standing is told. It was interesting that Catherine was standing next to the King and actually saying, right, they're going through this together. Now, we don't know how, the King is obviously, he's proving to be pretty resilient and determined to carry on as much as possible. Because if you think, when the Queen was alive, the late Queen, health issues until the Queen got later and Prince Philip, amongst the royal family, there weren't many.
Right. And if there were, we certainly weren't privy to that
Oh,
information.
well, we never heard about it. But, it would have been, even so, the fact is they lived into their 90s. They're a pretty robust family. so suddenly have this happening means that just like any other family, the length and breadth of of the world, you know, cancer can strike at any time, or illness.
Doesn't matter who you are.
It doesn't matter who you are. And it was nice that one of a big showpiece British occasion, as the King's birthday parade is, or the trooping of the colour, it was good that the sort of royal family were out and about. Did you also see the Princess Royal struggling with her horse as she came down?
I did, yes, but I wasn't worried about her because she's the Princess Royal. You know, she's got it handled. I trust her in an emergency situation before anyone.
This horse has got history. You talk about Louis got history in bad behaviour. The horse that the Princess Royal was riding, I think Prince William rode it last year.
Oh.
And so she got the gig. But if there's any, as you say, as a former European eventing champion, but remember, she's in her 70s.
That's true.
So it's not as if, you know, a lot of people have given up riding, yet not the Princess Royal. And actually, that was lovely to see her, and it's all part of that sort of the royal family doing their thing. Prince Edward, the Duke of Edinburgh, in the middle of that line of three, the sort of support flank for the king. And it was really important that they were there as well.
All right, well, we'll get to Harry and Meghan in 1 second. I just wanted to make the point, you know, I felt a lot of compassion for the Princess of Wales, watching her on that balcony and watching her in the parade, because there's been a lot of cruelty online over the last 6 months. And in that statement, she says good days and bad days. And I lost my uncle to cancer last year, and I remember him saying something like that. You have good days and you try to take advantage of them, and you have bad days and you almost feel betrayed by your body. And I just, you know, how courageous of her, because she knew that every inch of her facial expressions, her body, her outfit was going to be dissected. And I felt like that was a really, I mean, we were really lucky to see her, because she didn't have to do that.
I think that's why I say the mental side of it is more important than anything, because we know even now, you can see her looking as no different, as I say, that every move is being analysed and that what is going on. So I think you have to say mentally, look, I've got a family member who's going through cancer at the moment, and she says good days and bad days. You have the chemo, and then you can feel like hell for a bit. Then you come out of it again, and then those are the good days. And that's what they mean by saying taking doctor's advice and feeling in your cycle of treatment. We all know. So luckily, presumably, and whether she's fit, we don't know the extent of what treatment she's undergoing still now. But let's hope it is a positive sign, and that we will see her at things that she will feel comfortable about. And I would suggest, I'm not saying it's 100%, but she will find her way trying to get to Wimbledon, because, of course, it is something she is a patron of.
Loves it, yes.
And loves it, and it would be a happy place. She would be expected to present the trophies.
Oh, wow, that's
so
right.
maybe that might be something where we could see her in a relaxed but more informal, although sitting in the royal box, you're in the goldfish bowl.
You are.
But I'm sure it would actually, if she feels well enough to sit there, then I'm sure she will. That's where we're likely to see her. I don't know whether we'll see her doing a sort of more traditional public-facing thing, but something like Wimbledon, I think, is where we could see her.
Speaking of enthusiasm, Prince Harry's best friend Nacho was so enthusiastic about his dog biscuits and raspberry jam that hours before we saw our beautiful Princess Catherine on the balcony, he decided to post about Meghan's American Riviera orchard on Instagram. You talk about how the balcony's carefully choreographed and their strategy and everything. Do you believe that this happens to be the coincidence that Meghan's team is saying it was?
The King's birthday parade was always going to be on this particular day. Unless they are completely oblivious to what goes on within the British royal family.
Which they might be, let's be honest.
Well, they may be, but saying it's a coincidence, I'm sorry. Isn't he part of the polo programme? He will know everything that is going on. I take that with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
But the dog biscuits, I mean, seeing the picture of the dog biscuits, They look like any big dog biscuits you can. I don't know. What I wish he'd said is what were the dog biscuits and why they are going to be so superior to any other dog biscuit that you can buy in your local pet store. Presumably, if they're coming from American Riviera Orchard, they will come with a price tag attached.
Right, exactly. Duchess dog biscuits is not something I saw on the agenda when Meghan Markle decided to flee her horrible life in the UK as a princess.
Well, it's not, as they say in one of the greatest films of all time, Stay Classy, San Diego.
I love that. Yeah. Did you feel like... I mean, we didn't hear from Prince Harry over Father's Day. We didn't hear. He did wish his father a happy trooping. I mean, is there an absence there?
You wouldn't be saying a happy because it's not actually his birthday.
Right. It is.
It's just a traditional mean that's gone back since 1760 when George III said it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily think that we need to see Harry putting a message to his father. I hope he did send him a message saying, even something saying, well done yesterday, Dad, or whatever we calls him.
Yeah.
A happy Father's Day. But you hope.
I do. I mean, I would hope, because I feel like, you know, whether this was coincidental or not, they could have ended the negative headlines or talk of how inappropriate and catty this looks by wishing the king a happy birthday. Then that would have changed the direction of the conversation. But instead, we're still sitting here going, can you believe she tried to upstage the Princess of Wales with dog food?
Well, therein lies the problem for her. I know. And you think, why do you even bother? 2 of 2. I mean, I like making red currant jelly, right? But I don't send it to I give it to my friends.
Right.
And the labelling's pretpretty bad. I get a Post-it note and stick it on.
A serial killer. It looks like a serial killer wrote it.
But two jars of this. Again, what's going to be so special about the Meghan raspberry jam that you can't go and buy anywhere else? Why will it be different?
I just think that the whole objective with these kind of like the jam making, the dog food or the dog treat making, I feel like the objective is to change her brand from mean girl to, you know, earthy, girl next door, mom blogger. And I just think the damage is done. Can you imagine the viral videos of people putting Meghan's dog biscuits down and the dogs rejecting the dog biscuits? I mean, the viral videos, they're like just waiting. They're waiting to be made.
Well, that's why I want to know, how good are these dog biscuits? I mean,
we will eat them
No. Well, what about cat biscuits? Or, I mean, anything.
Yeah.
You know, I'm presuming there's going to be a line of pet foods. And
you and I were just talking before we started recording. I have a hard time with her doing dog biscuits when she gave up her rescue dog. She had a rescue dog named, I'm spacing on the name right now. I just said it to you several minutes ago. But she had a rescue dog that she left in Canada with a neighbor. And so, I mean, I could never leave. I mean, I'm homesick. I'm FaceTime with my dogs and I'm only visiting your country. But I'm
sorry, run that one past me again.
FaceTime. I miss my dogs.
So what? Do they answer? Are they that?
They absolutely answer. And so I just couldn't imagine giving up any of my animals, even for I would definitely not do it for a man. And she gave up her dog to start a new life with Prince Harry. So I mean, I wouldn't even trust her to walk my dog, let alone give one of my dogs.
I mean, I think, well, you never know. If well thought out. But the track record so far, since they have gone to where they do seem to be throwing everything at everybody and hoping by sheer weight of numbers something might stick and work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And at the moment, you know, a polo documentary might come crashing out. But again, I think that's going to be, my gut feeling is it will not be something that will make me feel that it's inspiring. It will be very controlled. What are we... Meghan cooking. I mean, I don't know. Can she cook?
I guess we're going to find out.
I'm being a bit harsh. I mean, she might be the new super
Martha
chef.
Stewart. She could. God bless.
Yeah. wasn't perfect for Martha Stewart, as we know. It did go off the rails at one stage.
And she's now best friends with Snoop Dogg. All right, well, Rupert, it's been so much fun to catch up with you. And I know this is a big deal because you are crazy busy right now. Hopefully I see you at Royal Ascot. Did I say it right?
Last time I was on, we did have a pronunciation test. And have you got your hat, frock? What do you got?
Oh my gosh, I can't wait for you to see it. It's ridiculous.
Right.
I'm very excited about it.
My car is currently parked at the station. I've got 6 waistcoats. I suddenly realised what women have to go through because I got so many...
I don't want to hear it until you crawl into a pair of Spanx, Rupert. I don't want to hear it.
Well, and I've got my top hat and tails, and I shall be... And my top hat is a well-battered beast.
Oh, I love it. I love it. All right. Well, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you agree with us, disagree with us, let us know in the comments. And Rupert, thank you for your time today.
It's a pleasure to record this, seeing with you in the flesh. Next time, I assume it'll be... Well, I'll see you at Ascot later in the week.
You will, yes.
Glass of champagne at the ready.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.